Hey everybody, and welcome back to Super Comic Fun Times daily vlog for April 16th, 2018. And it's a very cold one. I finally thought of something like this could be your Mr. Miracle moment for April 26th, 2018. So yeah, we're continuing on with our look at the 1989 run of Mr. Miracle. And after two very good episodes, we finished the space arc with He's Back. This was a very good episode. Now the artists have changed for these next two issues, except I think the cover, I don't see, I was looking to see who did the cover on this, if it was clearly stated. On the next one, I noticed it's Phillips and Dvorak did the cover for Mr. Miracle 20. This one, I am not sure. I don't see the signature. It doesn't jump off at me. I'm not sure where it is, but the art is by M.P. Bright and Romero Tanghal. So, yeah, and of course, Doug Mensch is still the writer. And it starts off like, as you remember from last time, I think it was the story was continued. It went from Mr. Miracle 18 to Homecoming in JLA 42, which I don't have JLA 42, so I don't know what happened there, but it wasn't that much of a hindrance to enjoying this story. The story starts with a nice shot of Barda still in prison, still in what looks to be a holding cell to me. But yeah, I'm a little confused how, it's a small town in New Hampshire, so maybe they run jails differently there. And this must be the end of the adventure that took place in JLA 42. And you still have Booster Gold and Blue Beetle acting like doofuses. I don't like them. I don't like them being all this kind of comic relief thing. I really liked them in 52. Well, Blue Beetle was dead by the time 52 came about, but in Countdown to Infinite Crisis, Blue Beetle was a great character, and so was Booster Gold. And I think Booster Gold tried to save Blue Beetle's life, and by, taking some sabotage, he ended up in a hospital. I think my memory might be a little scrambled on that. So anyways, I guess like at this time, like we kind of remember from that annual I did, I think it was the 89 annual, so it's all in this same time frame where they're touring the different embassies around the world, and they have these kind of tubes they go in, and I guess they just transport them. And so Scott is coming home for the first time, and him and Oberon are arguing. Oberon is, he's very arguable. He's always kind of irritable. And you can see that the backyard is still a mess, and there's where Barda stamped her foot because those two boys were annoying her. And yeah, I have to say, one thing that's coming clear to me is, like, from reading this, is getting a sense of Barda's character, how she was raised in a place without love, where your emotions were frowned on, unless it was like hate, your more positive emotions were frowned on. And like, just because that she fell in love with Scott, and like Scott put his essence in that Mr. The Miracle Mister stuff, the soap that they were selling. So yeah, anyways, they come home, and they don't, I guess he knows Barda is in jail, but instead of going, well, I don't know how those transporter things work. Maybe they have like a relay at his house. It's not really clear to me. I guess it's in their basement. Yeah, because here you see, like, there's the sound effect. They go in here at JLA headquarters. They come out here, which I assume is his basement. So that's why he hasn't been to see Barda yet. I don't know what happened in 42 that delayed him, but Funky Flashman is gone, and Manga Kahn is gone. And so, like, he comes and he meets the two group of people who are, they're kind of at cross purposes. You have the animal rights people, and then you have the people who of the business district, and they want their money, and they want Barda freed. And why they're both protesting in a residential neighborhood is, comic book logic. At the same time, like, the kids are still there. They're getting the rest of their money that they have in these garbage cans. They made about $6.5 million. And remember that number, because on the next page, we're going to figure out like, so yeah, the protesters come up. Here's like this lady, and she's like, the news lady is like, what will happen if these protesters clash? And when you think about it, there's no reason they should, because they both have, in terms of comic book logic, legitimate grievances, but they don't really have anything that should make them enemies. It's like the business people aren't for cruelty to animals, and they're not being cruel to animals. But yeah, at any rate, the business district needs their money. You would think they had insurance, but again, comic book logic is in play, so maybe they don't. Uh, Scott has to pay for it all because he's a god, I guess. I don't know. That might be like, his Christ nature that they're coming out. He has to sacrifice for the people that he hurt when he was attacked by those people who wanted the head in the box. And we don't know what happened to the head in the box from my run because I don't have all of the issues. I don't know what happened in that 3-month gap. So yeah, and what month are we in now? This is September. So it seems like we're a full year. I think I started in November of '89 with Highfather presiding over Thanksgiving dinner. That was a really great episode. And then it kind of cooled down from there until we got to the last two. I think there were some others in there that I liked too, but this 3-story arc was pretty good. So yeah, you got the people there. They kind of start a riot, and everybody ends up getting put in prison. And, Barda is here. I'll show you in a second. She goes, I still can't believe he's not dead. He's alive. I could bake a cake. And, of course, the joke is with Barda that she can't cook. So, but yeah, it's fun to see her so happy that Scott is alive. I don't, again, comic book logic and soap opera logic. I don't understand why there was no message sent. There was the robot that was with the JLI, and it got blown up, and everybody thought that it was really Scott, and then he was dead afterwards. Anyways, so then we come to these guys who Barda was protesting, and she destroyed their warehouse, which is why she's in jail, in case you missed that episode. So, they are using mutated garbage from Apocalypse. Darkseid is their boss, and his plan, first they're kind of testing these mutations on animals, and if they're successful, they're going to put them into humans. But it's kind of interesting here. It says, we've injected the mutation virus into 2 animals, Lord Darkseid. If the beasts survive the week, we'll prepare to introduce. So I guess they don't know if they'll survive. He goes, we will have our answer much sooner than a week. But we will? But how? Compared to the technology of Earth, mortal, Apocalypse technology is like magic, albeit black magic. And so, like, yeah, I mean, I guess if their science is so great, why don't they know that this stuff would just work? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little nitpicky there. Then, you got the kids back up here again. And I think this is where you figure out that they have made 6.5 million. And I might have skipped over it, but one of the male businessmen protesters was like, you owe us $6.5 million. When are you going to pay? He goes, I'll pay. When? I don't know. And then like the woman, the neighbor who's friends with Barda, it's like, when are you going to visit Barda? I'm going to visit her. When? I don't know, but I'm going to visit her. I'm planning on it. So it's and then they all get arrested. And so now Scott's in jail, and it's convenient because like they're kind of across from each other so they can talk. Like I say, it's like not a very big town. And then, you got the kids again. They're like fantasizing about what they're going to do with their money. And then Scott decides to break out, and, he uses his little cube of his, and it emits some sort of sonic thing that causes people to kind of freeze. And Oberon has to put his fingers in his ear. You see his fingers are in his ear as he walks past. And then Bart is like, why don't we just get into costume and go? And Mr. Miracle is kind of hesitant because, he wants to be a normal person, but even though nothing ever happens to him that's normal, but that's what he wants. And Bart is like, oh, come on, let's just like go. And then then you got Darkseid and these guys. I really like Darkseid. This reminds me of like when Darkseid first appeared in the Jimmy Olsen book. He was just on a monitor, but then like in a couple of issues later, I can't remember if it was the Forever People or it was one of the books where I think, did Orion have his own book? I kind of forget already, but it might have been an Orion book where Orion finds all these people on Apocalypse and rescues them and brings them back to Earth, and they become sort of his army, you know, because they owe him and because he needs contacts and because they don't want Darkseid to take over. So yeah, so then like what happens is the animals get out and Scott goes, go get some soap, Oberon. And he goes, we sold all the soap. We don't, or we gave it away on Apocalypse. We don't have any more. And then Barda goes, there's a whole bunch in our backyard, and she doesn't know that the kids had sold it. So it's like, no, that's all gone. So then Oberon has to go door to door because somebody has to have bought the soap, and most of the people have used all their supply already. But that's how they defeat the monsters, and then they like fight to try not to hurt the two animals that were mutated. And yeah, I just like this is like Darkseid is there laughing, and he looks so happy, thinking that finally Scott is going to be destroyed. And you know, you do have some great art in here. I really enjoy it. I really prefer the Phillips and Dvorak version of Oberon, but he's pretty good in here. So yeah, here he's going door to door, and I think it's the 13th house or maybe the 30th house. He has to go through a number of houses until he actually finds it. And then when he comes back, they spray it. I guess he mutated a gorilla and a dog, and so they spray that. And then they spray the two bad guys. And Mr. Miracle says, "You're going to go and turn yourselves in." Oh, right here, he's pointing his finger at them, being sanctimonious. He's going, "You're going to turn yourself in, and you're going to tell them like destroying that warehouse that you guys set Barda up for that." And so like everybody gets to go free at the end. And then like they still have like the matter of the $6.5 million. So they go to the kids and they have to, you know, they send all the money down, they shake it down from their treehouse. You know, this is like, I don't know, there's something, it's stupid, but it's really great at the same time. I really, really like it. And then the dad comes because like one of the kids had used, I think they only have something like $6,000 left. They had like just slightly over the amount of the 6.5 million. And so like the dad is like, "You'd better have $7,900 or it's going to come out of your hide," because the kid used the credit card to advertise the yard sale. And now Darkseid is bombed. What does he say? He says, halted at stalemate once more. Oh, halted at stalemate one more time by Scott Free for the last time. Never has Earth itself been darker, crueler, more filled with greed, or in more danger. Never more susceptible to my influence. Yes, my time draws nearer, and soon Earth too will be like hell. And then, of course, they kiss. The end, and that's pretty much the end of this this arc. And that was like a fun arc, a fun few issues. I'd like to find the fill-in issues just to know what happened. But yeah, I just, you know, I think everything gets good with Scott Free when he's with the new Genesis people, excuse me. When he's like in his own element, when Highfather's there, like that issue 4, I really enjoyed that one because it was so weird because like Beautiful Dreamer's having a baby. Highfather is dressed as a pilgrim. You know, Scott was the only thing that seemed off in that. But and yeah, and there's just so much happening. There's so much in that episode. The two kids, I don't know if they're introduced before it, but that's more or less where their arc starts, is issue 4. And I think it more or less ends here. I don't know that we'll see them past this. And then you've got this great cover of the next issue. This is the Halloween issue from 1990, October 1990. And I really like this cover. And like I was looking at it, go, "Oh, is that signed?" But no, that's just it is signed, but it just says Phillips and Dvorak. And then we get inside, and the artwork is just way, way different. Let's see. I don't think I told you the artist for this one. So yeah, even Keith Griffin is credited as coming up with the plot for this one, and then Doug Mensch did the script. So I think, like, after they finish that story, they kind of just do kind of one that's it's an interlude, more or less. It's not part of a bigger story. And the artists are Ian Gibson, and Lee Keyes is the letterer, and Tom McCraw did the colors, and Helfer and Dooley edits. So yeah, I guess it's just one. And I didn't hate it, but I didn't like this Oberon. I mean, look, that's not Oberon. And this is probably, look at that. So what's happening here is, like, they're sitting, also, like, a lot of it's taking place at night, and they kind of went with a lot of darker shading. And this one was hard to read, like the letters were blurry. The bus was crowded, and I was trying to read. And I guess it looks fine in this light, on the bus light where it was a little darker. It's April 16th, and we just had a big snowstorm last night. I'm sure many of you have had too. The weather is just, we're having a slow spring. We've had years with an early spring, and now we have to pay the price and get the late spring. But this one, it would probably be easier if I read it here at home, because my light is a little better. The fluorescents on the bus just aren't always up to it. And so, yeah, now that I'm looking at it, the art is much sharper, although, like, there's still, like, a lot of shading. And, there's really nothing wrong with that. It's kind of night, and they kind of want to convey that. So what's basically going on here, why Barda is throwing the couch out, is because Oberon was criticizing her cooking again. I mean, they had Hot Pockets in 1990, right? So anyways, he goes in to apologize, but then, like, she throws it out. She throws the couch out, and he comes running after her. She's out for blood. Oberon, are you all right? If she ain't pursuing, maybe I'll live. So yeah, no, I'm wrong. It is still, like, here the maybe is just really, it's all blurred together. So, this book had issues like that where just, like, some of the words were, especially when they were bolded, it was harder to read. And Scott is like, I tried to warn you. Yeah, but I even tried a peace offering. What was your peace offering? I said, I'd be willing to pick up a cookbook while I was in town checking on the discount rate of Pepto-Bismol by the case. And she chucked the sulfur at me. So, that's kind of like a long, long joke. So this is really Oberon heavy issues. So he decides to leave while Barda cools down. And I guess I've never met this character before, but there's this character, is her name Trudy or Judy? I think it's Trudy. It's like, she's a waitress at this truck stop, and she tells Oberon about this motel that's opened up in town. He goes, a one-horse town like this, and you got a motel? And she goes, it opened up when you were gone. So he decides it's probably better to, like, try to sleep there than to how you say, sleep under the stars, because he lists all the bugs. Like, this book had one problem. It's the jokes kind of went on a little too long. Not as long as a Family Guy joke, but, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, well, looks like I'll be under the stars tonight. Mosquitoes, gnats, chiggers, bullfrogs. And at that point, I just kind of stopped reading and went on to the next word balloon. But anyways, that's when she tells him about the motel, and they have all of these missing persons pictures up, and she says that the guy from the motel came and dropped him by. So he's, like, in the missing person cases. But then, like, you come to it, and, like, this is when I checked the date on it. I mean, the bus was just crowded today, so I did not do my normal careful job of examining the book before I opened it. So I was hoping it'd be like a House of Mystery thing, but it wasn't. But it was, but it wasn't. So, like, he comes to this hotel, and there's this kind of huge giant guy who doesn't speak much, and he's, I don't know, it's like, can I help you? He goes, hey, you want me to break my ribs with my own heart? He goes, so sorry. And then, they talk a little bit. Didn't mean to startle you. I am Albert Hawks. Are you alone? Need you a place to stay? So yeah, that's Albert Hawks. And so, Oberon starts constructing a story in his mind, and he's freaking out. And there's all of these people, he's more of the missing people, and like the place is practically vacant. He's the only one there, and like they kind of do something comic book logic. Is as soon as he has his room, suddenly the no vacancy sign goes up. You do have like some nice noirish stuff there. And he goes in, and he's got a drawing room. So I thought he was like a cartoonist or something. You don't see very many serial killer movies where the guy goes and draws his victim before he kills them, right? I mean, I guess it's possible. Maybe that would be a good idea for a plot. Then we're back at the freeze, and they're discussing it. And then like we come back to Oberon, who's like, this is his story, so he's the interesting thing. So now he's like I don't know why he didn't eat when he was at the truck stop. So again, comic book logic, he's hungry, and this motel doesn't have a restaurant, so he comes looking for a candy bar. And then he notices, this was nice. He doesn't notice this at first because he's just coming, but he, all of these people have, all of these people, I just noticed this. This is kind of cool. That's Mother. So like, there's been how you say psycho jokes. When Oberon was walking up to the place, he goes, and then this is what I came back to show you. It's like there's his one poster right next to the candy machine, and he doesn't notice at first. And he's looking for a good piece of candy, and then he notices the missing poster, and his imagination goes into overdrive, and he decides like to try to get out of there, but the door is locked. He comes and tries the phone, and the phone doesn't work. So I can see why Oberon would be like a little scared, because everything is kind of weird. But and then like he notices the guy going upstairs, and so he goes and he finds the guy's art room. He goes, I found his lair. This is where he draws people before he kills them. And then the guy shows up right behind him, puts his hand on his shoulder. And then we cut back to Scott for a bit, and he comes and finds Trudy, and Trudy tells him where he is, where Oberon is. Then Scott comes, and he comes to the door, and suddenly there's what's his name, Albert Hawks, comes like barreling out at him because Oberon is wielding a chainsaw. He's like so insane. This was like really kind of funny. I really like this part, and so like he's so freaked out that he doesn't realize that it's Scott. So Scott puts on his Mr. Miracle, and he decides, well, I guess I got to knock him out. So he like gives him a knock on the head. Then Oberon, you got the stars. This was kind of cool. Oberon's the stars, and then like Barta sort of comes into view, and then he goes, oh, it was all a dream. And Scott is like, no, buddy, it wasn't a dream. You're just lucky that guy didn't press charges. And so that was that story. It was a lot of fun. And then like, I guess they're staying out in the country. I didn't realize that, but then like, he just tries to go to sleep, and he sees like a starship or something, which in the DC universe, I don't know why that would be strange. They were just on a spaceship. I don't know why that would like make him overly nervous. It might annoy him. It's like, I just got back to Earth, but and then like it just says next issue, old faces and the new Mr. Miracle. So yeah, this was kind of a fun throwaway issue, good Halloween issue. So that is our Mr. Miracle moment for April 16th. Hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow we will be getting the Action Comics 1000 book, the hardcover book that is coming out to celebrate the Action Comics 1000. So we'll see what that's like tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Remember to subscribe, like, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.